It does get you high. I feel the need to document and share an experience I had after sniffing Tester's paint thinner back around 1978 when I was 14 years of age. This was a dark period of my life and I was often bored, lonely, and depressed. Before my one experience with paint thinner, I had sniffed model glue or airplane glue on several occasions. I built plastic model cars, planes, and ships to pass the time. As a result, I had a model glue, the Testors brand, in addition to the paint thinner and assorted paints. I would squeeze the glue into a plastic bag, cover my mouth and nose, and inhale. The highs I got from glue were never very intense and left me with a 15-minute dizzy drunk feeling. The high I got from Testors paint thinner was quite the contrary. I wanted to get high before going to school one morning. I had no access to common recreational drugs such as pot, and I was curious if the paint thinner would affect me if I inhaled it. I read the label on the small glass vial. The label listed mineral spirits as one of the ingredients. If mineral spirits are anything like alcohol spirits, I thought, then this paint thinner may very well get me high just as good, if not better, than glue. I poured a good portion of the thinner into a white plastic shopping bag. I then sat at the edge of my bed, put the bag over my nose and mouth, leaned over, and inhaled. I breathed deeply at a slow, rhythmic rate. I remember first seeing the white of the inflated bag as I continued to breathe and hearing the warm air pass in and out of my mouth, causing the bag to make a light crumpling noise as it expanded and contracted. About a minute later, the sound of my breath as I inhaled transformed into several voices singing a musical scale, similar to Do, Re, Mi, Fa, So. When I exhaled, the voices sang down in pitch in a similar fashion. Surprised by this auditory hallucination, I halted my breath and breathed very slowly, only to discover that the voices continued singing the scales, also more slowly, as if my breath was the voice's source. Even though the bag was small and about a foot long or so, I felt as if it was stretching down to the carpet with every exhalation, then springing back up. I closed my eyes, then became transformed to a dreamlike state where I was looking down onto the top of a spinning merry-go-round, similar to what I used to see in playgrounds back then. It looked so much like a kaleidoscope with toy balls and blocks moving around on the top. For a minute, I was completely removed from reality as I remained amused by the merry-go-round show. A feeling of shock and surprise came over me when I realized that what I was seeing was not real and I was still in my bedroom and needed to leave for school. I lifted my head from my bag and peered at my wall. I saw fractalized patterns on the wall similar to a hound's tooth textile pattern. Everything I looked at was fractalized in that manner, and I could not make out any smooth edges. I noticed my mouth was numb. I began to feel frightened because I had no idea what I had done to myself. I knew of nobody else who tried paint thinner, and I felt as if I was going into unexplored territory. I became fearful that my whole body was going to go numb. Alone in my house, and frightened, I ran downstairs out of our home towards the bus stop. I felt a great spring-like sensation as I ran to the bus stop. It felt as if my lower legs were made out of springs and that I bounced high with every step. This sensation gave me a sense of exhilaration and helped to quell my fear. I looked at the green trees on the horizon, and they too were fractalized into houndstooth patterns. This was quite bizarre looking. I felt relieved when I got to the bus stop and near the other students, although I don't remember speaking to any of them. I do not remember much after this. I began to feel back to normal as I completed my 15-minute bus ride to junior high school, and by the time I got to my first class, I had came down completely. This short trip lasted only about a half hour. It would have been more enjoyable if I knew what to expect and had others' personal experiences to compare to. The body, auditory, and visual distortions I experienced were quite strong and comparable to LSD, which I tried in my early 20s. They were not, however, overwhelming to the point of causing unease. I stopped doing all inhalants shortly after this experience because I felt the health risk to both my mind and body were too great.